I am honored to have with us my good and a friend to all of you, my friend Keith Stevens. Come on down. Come on down.
All right, am I on? I'm on.
You're on, so be careful what you say there. Don't go to the bathroom with that on. So
Here we
Keith,
go.
All right, I have a
thank
cheat
you.
sheet, but just to keep me in line.
Yeah.
Keith, thank you for joining us, and thank you for sharing. When we heard your testimony personally, it was very touching for us, very impactful for me, and I'm pretty sure that all of us will have a moment of, oh, this is where I was. I don't want to give away much details, so Julian, it's your turn now.
No, thank you again, Steve, for being here with us. We are honored, okay? Thank you for sharing this moment. So Keith, tell us a little bit about your testimony.
So my testimony today is surrounding havoc. And unfortunately, it takes havoc to wake us up. We don't understand or see life for what it is until we have havoc in our lives. And it has to open our eyes. And it's horrible that we don't appreciate life without pain. And we don't appreciate the peace and happiness that we have. And we can't be our authentic selves. So years ago, this shows I was a trader. And I had everything.
That's you?
Grew up, that's me. I grew up very middle class, very humble in Florida. And I got an opportunity to work for a big bank in New York on Wall Street. And I had every toy you can imagine. And I was living life. And I thought I was so-called bulletproof. And I was so involved and wrapped up in myself.
Like
and
Superman.
And it wasn't right. I was weak. I was just caught up. I was in that tidal wave of Wall Street, of being better than the next guy, and not truly appreciating everything I had. I would have to fly back to Florida to visit my mom to get grounded every once in a while. But then, not thinking, I'd go back to New York, and that tidal wave would just engulf me.
Going with that flow.
Yeah, and it was just horrible. I mean, if you've ever seen like The Wolf of Wall Street or something along those lines, it's just overwhelming. And I didn't do the bad side, no drugs or anything like that, but I went out and I just was too full of myself. I was not a nice person, probably.
You think so?
So
I don't know. I don't think so.
No, I wasn't. Because I can reflect back. I'm smart enough to see who I was now, what I was then. And then there was a day that came along.
So this is a little bit of a turning point?
This is the turning point.
Oh, okay.
So
share
one
with
day
us.
I was going to work, and I was an oil trader. I worked for Goldman Sachs, and I was fortunate enough to be an oil trader on the floor of the exchange. And I traded commodities, oil, copper, gold, silver, all those things. And again, my day at work, I used to come home thinking to myself, I do nothing. I produce nothing. I help nobody. I go to work and I try to fill a bag with money and just enjoy my life. It was so empty. And one day I went to work, and as I got to work, I came out of the subway and people were looking up. And I was wondering what was going on. And papers were flying, and there was garbage and smoke in the air. And there it was. A plane had just hit one of the towers.
Wow.
And we were standing there. My exchange was in the World Trade Center, in Ford World Trade Center. And I was a floor trader. And people were all staring. And then as you look down the Hudson River, you could see a low-flying airplane coming. And next thing you know, there's an explosion like you cannot imagine. The ground shook. The police cars came skidding into downtown. And they were telling us to get out of there. And we grabbed each other and we were just running. And I happened to live in the city at the time. I lived up on the Upper East Side. If you're not familiar with that, New York City is about 150 blocks long. World Trade Center was at like zero, ground zero as they say. And I lived up on 82nd Street. So it's approximately 4 miles away. I walked. And as we walked away, you heard the crumble. And I was standing on 34th Street and 2nd Avenue, which is between the UN, the Empire State Building. And you can hear people saying, are they attacking everywhere?
Wow.
And the next thing you know, that plume of smoke that you've seen before, that cloud of dust that was downtown, it wasn't quite as bad 34 blocks away, but you could taste it in the air.
Wow.
And there were hundreds of people that were walking, that were migrating and running away. No phone service. We couldn't call anybody because the tower had the antenna on top of it. So we walked home, and it was horrendous. You could taste it. You could feel it. The ground shook. It was just life-changing.
Listen, kid, I mean, we all, the world, the universe knows what, you know, so we know that it, obviously a terrible day, but there's a difference. News,
And being in person.
people going to the, oh my, you know, and telling others, actually, you were there.
Yeah.
Like you saw all this, the dust, the running. Kid, I think that you even remember. I remember that you told us that you actually saw people jump
So, yes, when we were standing up there, because back in '93, I happened to have been there also when that bomb blew up in the parking garage. I lost my car then. But people went to the rooftop because that's where they were rescued. Cantor Fitzgerald had offices up there. We lost 31 people from my exchange that particular day amongst the thousands that were killed. So, I lost track. So, what I was saying, so what we were standing out, and you would see people, and then the next few days we would go to these bars and restaurants in the area to help the firefighters and pass out socks and water and buy them drinks and whatever we could do. And they were telling us these stories of how they were finding remains of people who had no feet because the temperature was so hot that they went to the rooftops to be rescued, but because of what was happening, they had to jump. So it was either burn or jump to your death. I mean, it was just horrific.
I can't even imagine how difficult that must have been, that moment, being there, seeing all that. And I think the majority of us can remember precisely where we were in those moments, listening to this news. I was washing clothes, and one of my neighbors just ran downstairs and was like, hey, they're attacking. I'm like, what are you talking about? Go watch news. So I went and I turned on the news, and I saw the second plane, and I was just like in shock, thinking, this is a sick joke.
I remember I was in Brickell working, and even my building, and basically all Brickell, everybody was out, and it had nothing to do with Miami, but I mean, the country was at war. And I remember everybody, you know, buildings emptying people and people walking to the car. It was a really hard day.
It was a dark day.
Yeah, it was a Tuesday, and since I was an oil trader and that affected the whole world, we went back to work on Monday, and I had to go because our exchange actually had a satellite backup building across the street. So we went there to trade, and we had to walk by the smoldering debris, and you'd see the National Guard and the Army were there, and everybody had masks and the names and people. And I will say one thing about the exchange. So we got a big payout because we lost a week's worth of work, big deal. But we donated it all. Everybody went to the Pig and Whistle was the big place where all the firefighters and first responders would go. And you'd see them covered in soot, and they were sweating and working these unbelievable hours, and we would be buying them as much as we could and helping, and we donated and we gave, and we were all down there doing anything and everything. We were buying cots because the firefighters, they would open McDonald's and they would sleep inside the McDonald's. They would nap there because in between shifts. Wow. It was, the small businesses were put out, the people who passed away, who were killed. It was. So my point here was that God made me strong, and it made the city strong. It made the country strong. It made the nation strong. It gave us all direction and purpose. It brought people together. Weeks following that, Bruce Springsteen, Billy Joel, they had concerts all the time, and every dollar that they earned, they donated. The Yankees played the Red Sox. I never forget. I mean, on a normal day, we'd want to rip each other's heads off. But on this particular day, they would sing New York, New York, and arm in arm. I mean, It was, I never saw people walking in the streets, because there was a lot of people still coming down to see what had happened. They were curious. They were looking for lost ones. It was just so traumatic that nothing like this, well, Pearl Harbor, but nothing on the mainland has ever happened like this. So people were so curious, and they would ask us, our stories. And I have my ID still from the World Trade Center. I still carry it to this day of me getting
Wow.
in. And it actually gave me access to get into where I needed down there. It was so life-changing.
And tell us a bit about that life change.
Well, to me, I use my experience to share with people how family, how those shiny things mean nothing. It's all about your family. Why does it take havoc? God came to me and told me to help others. God came to me and said, you know, I saved you. I'm here for you. We're all here. We're going to save the country together. Turn to God because we needed that strength, that support.
Forget about yourself and keep on going.
Yeah, having love of family, love of friends, love of nation, and love of God trumps everything. It surpasses all the shiny nonsense that we accumulate, and it also should help bring us together and not divide us, because there are way too many things these days that divide us. And today I'm way better because I have let God in my heart. Wow. I live with God. I appreciate him. And as I say, as you see the pictures of my family and my new extended family, a phone call from any of my kids telling me how they did today or what they did today trumps anything. Or sitting on the couch and cuddling and watching a movie is the best thing. Or dragging Victoria out to the tennis courts to play tennis with me. I'll take any day over buying a new Rolex. Because that instantaneous gratification means nothing. It sits in a drawer. It's so shallow and hollow.
So you're enjoying the simple things.
And having the memories of dinners and trips and cuddling and movies and cooking together and you know, my son calls me. My two kids live in New York. Thank God they're successful and they're healthy and they're grounded. My son couldn't be any sweeter. My daughter works in a hospital, so I know that helps ground her, although she still tends to gravitate a little bit to the shiny stuff. But she's young. And my son couldn't be. I'm going to reflect a story from Victoria yesterday. She's a little upset. She's going to college, and all her besties are going away. And my son, who just turned 30, played basketball in high school, and he had the best group of friends. And they all went away to colleges across the country, and they've come back, and they couldn't be any tighter. And I said to Victoria, when you're a good person, that's so valuable. She believes in God. She believes in family. She believes in honesty. Those are the things that matter. Not Amen. What she can give somebody Amen. Or not what she can buy, but her heart. And my son is the same. His friends, every week I call him and go, what are you doing? I got another bachelor party. I got a wedding. I got a this. I got a that. All his high school basketball team, 14 guys are tighter than ever. And that's what I told her. Once you're a good person and you accept who you are, you accept God. And I know for myself, I have God in my heart and he walks with me, so I'm okay.
Amen.
So you will say, obviously, that day, that situation changed your perspective in life. Everything changed.
It did, but I'm not the smartest guy. So it took, after 10 years, I kind of fell off the wagon a little. And I started being I got a little full of myself again. And Hurricane Sandy came, and I lived in New Jersey. And it wiped my house out. And I was like, all right. Now God brought the pain a little bit closer. And again, it was so beautiful to see a town, a village, a state, a country come together. And it's important again to understand that why does it take havoc to wake us up and to keep us on the straight and narrow? Health, as a commodities trader, it doesn't matter how much money you make or lose. If you don't have your health, you have nothing. Mm-hmm. If you don't have family, you have nothing. And if you don't have God, you have nothing.
Amen.
Mm-hmm.
Amen. 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 Listen, kid, thank you for that beautiful testimony.